Today we're gonna take a look at the Snapmaker Artisan. This is a beefy 3-in-1 3D printer, CNC router, and laser engraver/cutter. This makes it a Swiss Army knife for additive and subtractive manufacturing, but it can also be used for personal and artistic use cases. And all the magic is happening within the same frame. How can that even be possible? Well, this is what we're gonna see in this video. For transparency, this review copy was provided by Snapmaker, and they sent us this package and they were wondering if we are interested in reviewing it. Snapmaker, for those of you who might not be aware, started as a crowd-funded project on Kickstarter. The Artisan is their latest machine, and this one is equipped with dual extruder printing, which allows you to print 2 different colors at the same time. This is actually a 3-in-1 machine, as I said, so it comes with 3 tool heads and 3 beds. All of them use a modular design, and unlike previous Snapmaker machines where you had to unscrew multiple screws to remove the bed and switch between the 3 different modes, this time around there are no screws. It is just a simple latch, very simple and easy to use. You can switch between 3D printing and CNC machining in less than a minute, as opposed to before, where it would have taken you at least 15 minutes. Now, first things first, the Snapmaker Artisan came in 2 heavy boxes, with everything meticulously packed, padded, and labeled. Actually, I think a big chunk of the weight is just the packaging. They really want to make sure nothing happens when shipping. But you might be overwhelmed when it comes to how many parts are in there and the size of the thing. So this is not small. In fact, this is the biggest 3D printer I have seen so far. I mean personally. So you might consider its size and the space you have before you grab one of these. With the enclosure and the filament racks, it measures around 1 cubic meter. It is also pretty heavy, so build it wherever it's gonna sit. The building process is straightforward, and the manual is great, with pictures showing exactly what to do. They even provide this cute box with a handful of tools that you will need when assembling and some that you're gonna need when working with the printer. One of the smaller boxes even includes a pair of plastic goggles, so as you can see, they thought of everything. Every part feels solid and premium. Almost everything is made of metal, which makes it very sturdy, and the railing uses custom linear modules that are enclosed inside of these beams, and the motor itself is a stepper motor tied to a timing belt, so you have one on each side. And instead of the small phone-like screen this time around, they opted for a rigid and beefy external control box, which comes with a 7-inch touchscreen as well as a highly requested emergency stop button. At the back of the controller, you have your power button and all the power cable sockets for the X, Y, and Z axes, in addition to the tool heads, which are clearly labeled. Snapmaker's manual is really easy to follow with precise instructions, as you can see. And what I wanted to say is that they go above and beyond to make your life easier when you get the thing. Case in point, check out this cute little toolbox with a handful of tools neatly laid out in their own foam cutout, which is amazing. The first time setup wizard is also really straightforward, and it will walk you through all the steps. Select the language and push agree, and next a couple of times, then connect it to the Wi-Fi, basic stuff. Following the touchscreen instructions, it will ask you to load filament into both printing head extruders, and the machine will run an offset calibration. Afterward, wait for it to probe and calibrate Z height by pushing on the bed a couple of times. Finally, it will print a test ruler to check for the offset, one ruler for X and one for the Y axis. Once it's done printing, pick the one that aligns best with the X axis and the best for the Y axis. At this point, the machine is done calibrating, and it will print a test model to further check if everything is working correctly. If you see any mistakes at this stage, you can run the calibration wizard again. But we can now jump to the fun stuff, and that is printing. Snapmaker software called Lubin is their own tool used for all different modes, from printing to laser engraving and cutting. From what I can see, it is a very capable and user-friendly software, which makes it excellent for beginners. But if you are an advanced user, you can use more sophisticated software like Cora for 3D printing and Lightburn for laser work, amongst many others. But for most people, Lubin is more than enough. When you first launch Lumen, you'll be prompted to choose which module you are working with, and that will give the appropriate workspace. Here, you can load models, edit, optimize, and slice them, and you can also connect directly to the printer and send tasks as well as monitoring the printing process. I will start with a simple test model. So, I will try to use the default settings and send this to the printer from Lumen. You can see the estimated time at the bottom right. It is also important to note that this printer promises a speed of up to 180 mm per second with an accuracy of up to 0.1 mm, give or take. As you can see, the print came out perfect. It took about an hour to finish. And just to test the dual extruder, here is another model. This one took about 9 hours. Although the dual extruder printing may not be as clean as single extruding printing, it works well enough, in my opinion at least. This rotating cube works flawlessly, but it took some pushing to get all the pieces together. Next, we'll take a look at the laser cutting / engraving. And switching heads is as simple as unplugging one cable side of the printing module, unsliding in the laser tool head, and then connecting the cable. You also need to swap the heated bed for the aluminum bed, and unplug the heated bed, then put the aluminum bed for laser engraving. After that, secure it with a lever, and you are done. The software allows you to load images and vector graphics or draw shapes and add text manually. It also has multiple presets for different materials, so you can choose from the list. In addition, you can adjust all the settings manually if you know what you're doing. Stuff like the speed and the power, but usually the default settings can do a great job. I don't think I need to say this, but exposure to this light for a long period of time is not good for your eyes, so it is better to wear protective goggles, or for the best protection from the fumes and debris, keep the printer inside the enclosure. Lastly, I will take a look at the CNC module. To do this, we're gonna switch the bed to the MDF bed, and like before, slide out the laser's head and slide in the CNC splint tool head back on. You can install the engraving bit that came with the machine and fasten it using the tools in the box. You can load whatever you want and pick the tool type, the depth, and the step down distance, and hit start. You can preview the tool path and check if everything looks good, and start the job. Depending on what you need, you can switch to a different engraving bit. For instance, if you want to cut through the wood, you can use a double flute end mill with a depth distance bigger than the thickness of the material that you are engraving on. And although Snapmaker did not advertise this machine as being able to cut through metal, I've seen a lot of people using it working with aluminum, so the machine is sturdy enough to cut through aluminum. You just need to keep the step down offset and the speed reasonable though. So, my final verdict is that this is one of the most capable machines I have ever seen. It does exactly what it says on the box. And if you have the space to buy a 3D printer, CNC machine, and a laser engraver, by all means, this is the printer for you. Now, it is true that the price of Snapmaker will put it outside the budget for a lot of people. But if you like what you see here, and you believe it is worth it, especially if you are a 3D printing or an engraving enthusiast, this is probably for you. And there you have it guys. If you are interested in Snapmaker, you will find all the necessary links in the description. I hope you guys found this video useful and informative. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Also, please check some of our previous videos. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.